The first day of the 47th ASEAN Summit in Kuala Lumpur is wrapping up. Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim welcomed a number of leaders as the bloc held a full slate of bilateral meetings on everything from trade to regional security. Among the key guests, U.S. President Donald Trump, who pledged that America will 100% continue to be a strong partner for Southeast Asia for many generations.
1 year ago, we were in a different position, but now we're in the best position we've ever been. And I really do. I say it's the golden age of America, golden age of the United States. Together we'll create incredible prosperity for the nations on both sides of the Pacific Ocean and to seize new opportunities for all of our people.
Right hand over the left.
Japan's new Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi also took the stage, extending her gratitude to ASEAN leaders and reaffirming Japan's support for a free and open Indo-Pacific. But one leader appeared virtually instead of in person, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He praised ASEAN's steady partnership even during uncertain times. Indian media say the country's foreign minister may meet with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio tomorrow. And a historic moment for the region. ASEAN officially welcomed Timor-Leste as its 11th member, the first new addition since Cambodia joined in 1999. Timor-Leste's foreign minister called it a proud milestone, saying membership finally gives the young nation a stronger voice in regional politics and diplomacy. CNA's correspondents have been covering developments on the ground in Kuala Lumpur. Melissa Goh is at the summit alongside Leong Kit, while Aslam Shah will have the latest on Singapore Prime Minister Lawrence Wong's engagements at the event. Now let's start with you, Melissa. Trade is dominating the talks at ASEAN today with U.S. President Trump's presence. What has been his message to the bloc?
Well, the U.S. President Donald Trump, in his maiden visit to Malaysia and also to Southeast Asia after being sworn in for the second term, is trying to show that he too has their back and not just rival China. The U.S. is 100%, he said, behind Southeast Asia, home to some of U.S. strongest allies, he said. Now, Mr. Trump is one of the greatest showmen. A lot of people are saying, from stepping down from Air Force One, doing a song and dance, waving flags with the people at the time. Despite the scorching heat, he is trying to forge a closer ties with ASEAN. Now, the bloc of 11 members now, with Timor-Leste formally joined. Now, already he has signed 3 or 4 deals with Malaysia, Cambodia, Thailand and Vietnam on the reciprocal tariffs. Now, Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim, who welcomed him at the tarmac this morning, commended Mr. Trump for being an exceptional leader. He said, according to Trade Minister Zafrul Aziz, who had a news conference a while ago, said that Malaysia managed to ink a slightly better deal than that was previously agreed, gaining more access to the U.S. market. Now, it's palm oil, rubber, cocoa, they are all exempted from tariffs. It's unclear right now whether semiconductor, which is one of Malaysia's key exports to the U.S., whether will remain exempted and for how long. Now, the decision on the sectoral tariff is expected to be announced soon. But President Trump got Malaysia to agree that it won't ban export of magnets to the United States and will jointly work with U.S. companies to develop the rare earths industry. Now, Malaysia has a huge deposit of rare earths, somewhere worth about $200 billion, about 16 million tons.
Melissa, another key development on the sidelines, the U.S. and China saying they have reached a preliminary framework on a trade deal. What's in it and how far does it go to easing tensions?
You know, it's still preliminary at this stage. It's just an understanding right now between both U.S. and China negotiators. And Secretary of Treasury Scott Bessent, he believes that, after 2 hard days of talk, they have established a successful framework, he said, that encompasses trade tariffs, export controls, rare earths, fentanyl, agricultural products, including TikTok. Everything was talked about and ready to be presented, this framework for both President Trump and President Xi to decide when they meet in Korea next week on the sidelines of the APEC summit. But Chinese Vice Minister Li Chenggang seems to have a different stance, different take. He said both sides remain very resolute, appearing not willing to budge. And in fact, he said that, talks are very difficult at this point in time still. So it's still very, very at early stage right now as to how it's going to calm sentiments. We'll see when markets opens tomorrow.
Many thanks for that update. Melissa Go there reporting live from Kuala Lumpur. A significant step toward peace in Southeast Asia today. The leaders of Thailand and Cambodia have expanded the ceasefire agreement on the sidelines of the ASEAN Summit. U.S. President Donald Trump, who's in Kuala Lumpur, presided over the ceremony alongside Malaysia, which helped broker the deal. Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Manet praised President Trump's role in making the peace accord a reality, calling his involvement decisive. Thailand's Prime Minister Anutin Chanvirakul also expressed gratitude, thanking the U.S. leader for helping to facilitate the agreement. President Trump, in turn, commended both leaders for their courage, saying this latest move could save millions of lives.
The 8 wars that my administration has ended in just 8 months, there's never been anything like that. Never. There never will be either. I can't think of any president that ever solved one war. I don't think anybody. They start wars, they don't solve them. So nothing like this has been done in history, and it's an honor to be involved. On behalf of the United States, I'm proud to help settle this conflict and really develop good friendships, including people that work with each team.
I am delighted, truly, President, to hear from you personally how determined you are to ensure that peace is achieved in the most intractable areas, almost impossible, but you did it.
Let's cross over now to CNA's correspondent Saksith Saiyasombut joining us from Bangkok and senior correspondent Leong in Kuala Lumpur. Saksith, let's start with you. Thailand's Prime Minister Anutin called the declaration a concrete step towards peace. How significant is this move in rebuilding trust and easing tensions along the border?
It is a significant milestone, but not the finish line in the history of ties between Cambodia and Thailand, a history that has been fraught, that has been divisive, and unfortunately also at times deadly, as recently as in the border clashes that we have seen in June and July. But nevertheless, this agreement that has many different names, a joint declaration, a peace deal, as U.S. President Trump himself called, or the Kuala Lumpur Peace Accords, that is also being named. That is definitely a significant step. But in the sense of that, why is that the beginning and not the end? It is more or less a framework, a guideline about how these two countries can work out their differences together and rebuild their bilateral ties. And they also include many different aspects. For example, the removal of heavy weapons from the border, an effort to demine and remove explosives from the border as well, and also to combat cybercrime, which has been very much a hot button issue, especially when Thailand pointing the finger towards Cambodia with its many scam centers as well, and also a joint demarcation of the border. That one in particular is going to be something that is going to take a very long time. And also, of course, that what also takes a lot of effort is also the nationalist sentiments on both sides of the border that needs to be calmed down in order for both countries and its people to come back together. Let's also not forget that even though we have this declaration, the borders are not yet going to be reopened again. What is going to happen, though, is that 18 Cambodian soldiers that have been in Thai custody, they are going to return to Cambodia, that they are being released and that they can go home. So there's definitely some progress here, but it is still a long way to go. Nevertheless, Thai Prime Minister Anutin Chanvirakul, who had his schedule rearranged and changed because of the passing of Queen Mother Sirikit, he was definitely still very hopeful and somewhat cautiously optimistic, as we're going to hear here now.
Thailand stands for peace. This declaration reflects our will to resolve differences peacefully, in full respect of sovereignty and territorial integrity. This declaration, if fully implemented, will provide the building blocks for a lasting peace. But more importantly, it will begin the process of mending our ties.
Mr. Anutin also linked this peace effort with broader cooperation, including trade and critical minerals agreements with the U.S. How does this reflect Thailand's wider diplomatic and economic goals beyond the immediate ceasefire?
It is interesting to keep in mind that Thailand didn't want and still doesn't want to internationalize this conflict. They want to have this conflict solved bilaterally, whereas Cambodia is very welcoming in, for example, the intervention by U.S. President Donald Trump. But from the Thai perspective, some might say that might as well use that to Thailand's benefit. And as you mentioned before, these agreements that have been made on the sidelines of the ASEAN Summit, for example, a framework about the Trump tariffs, that they are going to hopefully have a deal or an agreement and finalized agreement by the end of the year. And the details are, as we are looking at the press release from the United States, saying that Thailand will eliminate tariffs on 99% of goods, whereas the United States will maintain a 19% tariffs on imports from Thailand, while trying to identify what goods can actually get a 0% tariffs there as well. But so we are seeing that Thailand is definitely using the opportunity to not only leverage itself for a better deal, but also to put itself back on the diplomatic map, which is something observers have criticized Thailand for the past 10 years, ever since the military coup in 2014, that Thailand has been mostly busy with itself and missing in action on the global stage. But here, with new Prime Minister Anutin Charnvirakul, there is the hope that things will be in calmer waters, but also the fear that the inconsistency, the lack of continuity because of the many changes of Prime Minister, and with potential snap elections happening next year, and of course with that a new government coming in, that this continuity might be missing, and that could also have ramifications on this peace deal, on this joint declaration that is going to manage the border tensions and the border relations between Thailand and Cambodia. So the hope there is that there will be something there that could be built upon, though. But the problem is that there are many issues that both countries need to work through.
Thanks for those updates, Saksith. Now, I want to move on to you now, Waikid. Prime Minister Hun Manet spoke about Cambodia's strong commitment to fully implementing this joint declaration. What are the key takeaways from his message today?
Well, let's start with where both prime ministers' positions converge. It is very clear from their speeches that they want to bring peace back to their country and back to their people. But there are also very fundamental differences in how each country sees the border dispute. And it's, again, very obvious from their speeches. In a while, we will call up the soundbite of Cambodia Prime Minister Hun Manet. Take a listen to his second sentence carefully. Let's take a listen now.
Cambodia reaffirms a strong commitment to fully and faithfully implementing these joint declarations and to continuing to work closely with Thailand and all our partners to ensure that this peace endures and brings tangible benefit to our peoples. We look forward to continued support and contribution of international communities and partners to fruitful realizations of the joint declarations.
Now, Mr. Hun Manet had mentioned the international community. This is the position of Cambodia. It sees the border dispute as not just bilateral, but an international one, having brought it to the International Court of Justice, saying that it's a legal path and that it's diplomacy in action. And as you heard from Saksith earlier, this is not the position of Thailand. It does not want to internationalize it. It wants to keep it bilateral, which is why when Mr. Anutin Charnvirakul spoke at the signing earlier, when addressing Mr. Anwar Ibrahim, he had addressed him as the ASEAN leader and praised him for his efforts to boost ASEAN unity. When addressing Mr. Donald Trump, he had thanked him for his, and I quote, personal dedication for bringing peace to both countries.
Waikid, Mr. Hun Manet emphasized long-term peace and cooperation with Thailand. What steps will be needed to make that a reality along the border?
Well, apart from political will, what's also very important is communication between military commanders and their soldiers on the ground. I've been speaking with defense analysts who explain to us why it is so fragile, why the peace truce is so fragile, because people on the ground, troops on the ground, sometimes it's not about insubordination. It can be about survival instincts. It can be about reacting reactively or defensively. And sometimes if there's mistrust with the people on the other side, there can be such incidents, firing incidents, which is why one of the steps of this deal is to withdraw heavy weaponry on the border, and this will greatly reduce the risk of misfiring or miscalculation. And we also have a structured way to ensure that the peace deal is being abided by. We have the ASEAN observers team on the ground in both Cambodia and Thailand.
Well, many thanks to our correspondents, Saksith Saiyasombut in Bangkok and Leong in Kuala Lumpur. Well, apologies, we had a box earlier that said Waikit is in Bangkok, but he's in the Malaysian capital.